with nations.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce that. So we've done this, I think we've done it every year I've been here, so this will be the sixth time we've done this, where we recap different pieces of the district through the cabinet members and the principals and things from the different school districts and stuff. And so I'm gonna project out. Can you switch me, Shane, up on the, you can throw me up on the screen. No. As we go through it, we tie everything to the district goals, the strategic plan that we created a few years ago. And as I go through it, I just kind of want to share our strategic plan belief statements: that we believe that everyone is unique, has worth, deserves respect, and can learn and excel in an environment tailored to their needs. We believe that it is the responsibility of every school to provide a respectful, physically and emotionally safe and secure learning environment for everyone. We believe that critical thinking and problem solving skills are fundamental to preparing students for their future. We believe in the potential of all students to succeed in an ever-changing world. And we believe in the value and importance of student involvement in activities to create well-rounded citizens. And so we again created those. If I don't know if even those of you that weren't on the board at the time, we created those with the members of the board. We created them with people from throughout our community, staff members, students. We had a variety of different stakeholders. We also created our strategic plan mission statement, and this is a little different than it was prior to that, where I think developing is the new word. It was creating, or I don't remember what the word was, but our mission statement of developing self-directed learners to thrive in a changing global community came from that. And then the 5 focus areas as well. And as people are presenting, you'll be able to see in the top left-hand corner, or different corners, I guess they are, of which focus area they're kind of focusing on as they're presenting, and which one of these it's tied to, and which school area as well. And I guess the first person that'll be presenting will be Carla Nolan, who's our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. I also have on our presentation here, I have all the goals that we have: goal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on here, and then the objectives with those as well, but those are on our strategic plan. And we'll go ahead and get right into Carla. Carla gets the fun job of, you might have to turn it on, but Carla gets the fun job of presenting every year, along with Kevin also gets to present every year, and then the rest get to kind of rotate through. So if you don't hear from somebody this year, you'll likely hear from them next year, or their department at least next year. All right.
All right. Well, good evening. I am going to share your curriculum instruction and technology tonight. We'll start with what used to be World's Best Workforce, that is now the acronym that stands for Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness. Same goal areas, however, one additional that talks about preparing all learners to be lifelong learners. So I'll share the 4 goal areas and progress toward those that I can tonight, because MCAs are connected to some of them and we don't have those results until the fall, so I'll share that in the fall. But we do have our school readiness, which focuses on our early education learners. And our first goal for this year was to have 80% of those students ready for kindergarten, measured by some early reading assessments. And we are currently at the 75% mark, so that's a good thing. This year we had all of our early educators responsible for teaching reading trained in the early childhood letters training. So they are done with their training, but now next year we start with implementation. As for reading in the K-12 grades, this is the READ Act requirement. World's Best Workforce had just grade 3 reading requirement, and now we are K-12. And so this one is a multi-year goal, and so we are ending this in 2026. By 2026, we would like to have 70% of our students reading at grade level. We are currently in progress at 63.3% of our K-12 students. So that we're focusing mainly on our early elementary students, K-5. We implemented a new literacy program in K-5 this year, and our teachers are well on their way to finishing their letters training by next November. In terms of graduation rate, this is the one that we don't get that rate until about February or March. And so for 2024, we met our goal at 92.6%. We shoot for maintaining a 90% graduation rate. And finally, this is the new goal. We are centering around focusing on our students regulating their emotions and communicating effectively, and we measure that by our social, academic, and emotional behavior screener, SABERS and MySabers. And that goal is to be at 90% of low risk, and we are currently at 87. In terms of curriculum review and adoption, this year we implemented, like I said, K-5 literacy program and also K-5 health. Our curriculum review was for 6 through 12 ELA, English Language Arts, and we finished that and are looking forward to implementing next fall. Next year's curriculum review will focus on K-12 social studies. Finally, instructional technology this year. In secondary, we focused on instruction or professional development on artificial intelligence for all licensed staff. Next year, we will deepen that understanding through more professional developments to use AI as a tool in our instruction. We had initial implementation of curricular resources for literacy this year, and in this day and age, there are lots of digital and print. And so with our new tech integration support, we will be strengthening that digital component of implementing those curricular resources. In secondary, we also had some site visits. We took some teachers to visit sites that are implementing the Modern Classrooms project model of instruction, and we have one high school math teacher that is currently implementing, with a handful of others kind of following suit for next year. That will also be supported by our secondary tech integrationist support starting next year. I will hand it over to our elementary assistant principal, Brandon Papenpoose.
All right, hello. So I'm going to talk about the primary and intermediate. Do I need this? Probably not.
Yeah, you need it for
I
the
need it?
people online.
All right.
Do you want us
So-
to turn it down or what? Just keep it further away.
There we go. So for the primary school, I'm going to talk about 2 slides. A couple of things we're super proud of. We did responsive classroom. We kind of started put the bug in the teacher's ear in August of this last summer. And then we had 3 days of training, June 9th, 10th, and 11th, just about a month ago now. I will say responsive classroom I went through it twice. Responsive classroom 1 and 2 when I was a teacher changed the way I taught, changed the way I thought. To me, it's like assume they know nothing, but teach them everything. Super great training. I actually had a video, but the teachers thought it was kind of embarrassing to show because you're doing some silly things because it's elementary and you're dancing and you're doing, and Dale said no because it was a video of Dale putting a crown on his head and dancing. So Dale Christensen said no. So if he's watching, he's probably gonna be mad that I mentioned that. I'm really excited for the responsive classroom to be implemented this fall. I would say 95 to 96% of our classroom teachers were there, which is fantastic, I think, especially for the first week of summer when school got out. And then with the letters training and the responsive classroom, I'm really excited to see what we can do this coming year. The other thing I would like to talk about, something I'm super proud of as I kind of spearheaded this, is the Watchdogs program. This program was started, I believe, right around the COVID time. And then when COVID hit, obviously you couldn't have people coming into the school. So with the help of the community, which links right with the goal, we had $11,000 of gifts given to us for the Watchdog program. We got, so this means it's kind of geared towards male role models coming into the school. However, we do have moms coming in too. The acronym for moms is moms of marvelous students, and the dogs is dads of great students. But we started it in January. We had pizza night, December 12th. I think we had like 150 dads and kids come in, boatload of pizza, talked about the program, what it means. And then through our generous gifts, obviously we have to have background checks, and then you can kind of see the picture. Each dad gets a Watchdog t-shirt, and they're about $25 a piece plus a background check. It'd be like $35, $40 per parent, but we're covering that cost with the gifts that we've got from the Lions clubs in both Becker and Clearwater, and Liberty Paper also donated. So we're covering that probably for the next 2 or 3 years because we did get so much money. And as you can see, we started our first first dog came in January 14th. We had 85 dogs come in between January 14th and June 4th. I think there was only like 97 days of school in that time period, right around like 100 days of school in that time period. So we had 1 or 2 dads almost every day. So super cool program. And then what we did, you can see, we have a wall of fame. We hung that up right when you walk into the primary school. Took a picture with and the kids also get a shirt too. I should mention that the kids that's like my hero, my dad or my dog is a hero. So they get a picture with their dad or their mom, and then we hang them up in the wall of fame. So as soon as you walk into the primary school, that's one of the first things you see. And Dale and I kind of talked, we're going to actually frame it like a jersey. Our goal is, and then we'll have and then the dads also sign, or dads and moms sign the shirt. So we're going to hopefully have like a Watchdog Hall of Fame and frame each t-shirt. So each year you can see. And then that doesn't even count the 85. It doesn't count the dads who came in more than once. That's 85 different people. We had dads come in 3 or 4 times. So super great, super cool program. They don't get a free shirt every time. They get to keep the shirt. They got to wear the shirt. So super proud of this program. And then next year I'd like to get moms more involved. So I'd like to have muffins with mom because we had pizza. And then each year we'll redo a pizza night for the kindergarten parents, but the first and second grade parents won't need it because they've already been introduced to it. So that's something we're super proud of. And then at the intermediate school, linking it to our goal 3, we wanted to reduce our behavior referrals by 7% because that eliminates some of the barriers that we have in our education system, right? If we can get those behaviors down, we actually got it down to 9. We reduced it by 9%. We're right around that 9%. And a lot of that comes, it was our second year of PBIS implementation. We did a survey and 90% of our staff, that's custodians, cooks, teachers, paras, were invested in buying in. I think that helped hugely by eliminating some of those behavior problems. And also the engagement strategy we've been working with as a district to help keep students engaged and keep them entertained. Pretty much what we're doing, right? We're entertaining those kids. I think those 2 things combined will continually reduce our behaviors as long as we continue to have that teacher buy-in and students' expectations, hold them accountable. And I think we're doing a very good job of that at the intermediate school. And I'm looking forward to this coming year. I'll turn it over to high school principal Dave.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight, and thanks for the opportunity to tie a tie in the summer. It's been a month. I got on my second try tonight, so. All right, I'm going to focus on 3 slides, the first of which is really focused on our professional development. So we had 2 shared days with the middle school, using this space for most of it. And on those 2 days, it was split in half, with half being our work on priority standards. So Carla, Chantel, and myself went to some training the year before on how to identify priority standards and lead the staff through the process. And it was really timely because we have new standards that we will be using this year in English, new standards coming up, social studies very soon, and then math on the horizon. And just the way that the standards are written are much different, and some of the content in the standards are much different. So identifying the priority standards, what things are the most important. That work started this year, will continue into PLC work this year for both the middle school and the high school, and then the elementary, kind of 1 year behind because they had letters training last year. Second piece of our full day PD training was artificial intelligence, as Carla mentioned, and bringing in a speaker from the outside, William Gruby, who has really found a niche for himself that he's presenting everywhere and anywhere on artificial intelligence. And what was really nice about William is he gives a lot of pretty easy on-ramps for utilizing it in the classroom. So for efficiencies, for some retests, for some different lesson ideas, for some engagement strategies. So he came in for 2 half days, one in the fall and then one in the spring. And Patrick worked with the staff on some of the ways that we can continue to use artificial intelligence. And Shane and I have had some conversations on how we can continue that this year. Second piece, continuing with, as I mentioned, the priority standards will continue in PLCs this coming year. Middle school continued to focus on effective classroom management strategies while deepening their use of EduClimber to analyze data and better support student needs. At the high school level, we spent time on quality assessments and looking at our data both from Skyward and EduClimber on within each class where are students performing the poorest. So what is the data showing us, and what summative assessment do we need to enhance, and what's the struggle behind that summative assessment? Summative assessment could be a project, could be a test, could be a lab report. So using the data systems that we have to target what we need to focus on, and then providing professional development on how we can create better assessments. Also at the high school level, over the last couple of years, we've focused on students failing classes and how we support those students. In some areas, like our industrial tech area, we don't have many students fail those courses. So we wanted something that everyone could attach to. So this year, high school staff targeted a group that they wanted to improve. It might be, I want to reduce the percentage of students at the C level, so increasing the B level, not moving them down. But that gave everyone really a chance to look at their data and to come up with strategies to improve that level. So we just called that our grade band data. And the final piece was safety and well-being. Middle school, you heard a presentation last year or this year on DIG, Discover, Inquire, Grow. So this year they improved that program and adjusted some of their course offerings, the times that it's offered, the duration that those DIG classes are offered. Middle school administration presented at our summer conference to 2 very full rooms on how they did this. So just to meet students where they're at and have staff members teach in some areas that they're really excited about. High school, we continue to refine our registration process. So when students sign up for the classes, they're truly informed on the classes that they're taking, and they are choosing their path. It's not choosing a class because this is what their buddy is taking or this is what their brother or sister took. With those options, we rolled out a number of new courses, and you can see the list up there. But the one that was probably the most successful and most exciting for students and the staff member was Unified Phy-Ed. We offered it every trimester, and our teacher, Alyssa Stevens, had done a lot of homework, and she was really excited to do that with our DCD students and then different general ed students in that class every trimester. So the other ones were very popular as well, and just maximizing the interests of our staff and the interest of our staff to offer those courses, we had to have the interest of the students. And then something that we didn't anticipate as the year began, our high school staff wanted to move to everyday advisory to better support our students. And the feedback from the staff at the end of the year was 80% wanted to utilize everyday advisory next year. And when you get 80% of staff to support something, that's a pretty resounding yes. So we're talking about that today on how we can maximize our advisory time next year. Thank you.
And then next up is Director of Food Service, Alicia Kidap.
Thanks for the opportunity to present. We have a lot going on in the food service department, some big department level changes. So I'm excited to share that with you all. So the first goal, beginning to transition away from using a central kitchen to site level cooking. So currently our high school kitchen operates as our central kitchen. Our assistants and our lead cooks, they start their day at the high school and they're prepping the main entrees, cold salads, certain fruits, certain vegetables. So they're all starting their day here, and then middle of the day, they disperse to their sites, and that's where they're doing the cooking and the finishing of foods. So we have had a positive fund balance now for a few years, and we're able to look at how we can change and improve our department. And I'll talk through how we're going to transition to site level cooking. So new equipment, first of all, the big things, walk-in freezers at the intermediate school and middle school. We've added them. They're operational. They look beautiful. Just waiting on some shelving. So that is finished and checked off the list. We've had some hood upgrades at the intermediate and the middle school too to house some equipment underneath those. Like this state-of-the-art kettle, it's called an iVario. Basically, our cooks don't need to lean into 40-year-old kettles to, deal with the pasta and the chili. They're just ergonomic, basically a computer that helps them cook faster and be more efficient. And then smallwares, some of the sites don't even have certain chef's knives because, again, we've been doing most of the cooking here at the high school. So then that will change next year and allow the cooks then to start their day at their designated site. So every site will have an assistant and a lead cook there throughout the whole day. They'll be involved with breakfast, which they have not been before. So we can do more hot entree choices, hopefully more scratch cooking at breakfast. So positive improvements there. To bounce back on the equipment a little bit, between fiscal year 25 and 27, looking at about $530,000 from the food service budget on those. We have a small $12,500 equipment grant from the Department of Ag too, which helps a little bit. Touched on the lead and assistant starting at their respective kitchens. And then this change has just allowed us to look at the big picture too of our department and reorganizing and being more efficient with our other staff as well and tweaking things as needed. Other benefits, the big one is less transport of food. Currently, I'll use Cisco, they're our prime vendor as the example. They come to our high school with a big delivery 2 times a week. They go to a big back freezer, and then we transport that food to the front freezer at the high school. Then the cooks are panning this up for days. They're putting it in transport carts. It's going on the truck to be delivered to sites where it might not even be used for a whole nother day. So this transition to the site level cooking, they can get the food delivered right to their site. They can pan it up the day of. Less physical labor, hopefully, on the staff as well. Instead of lifting 12 cases of hamburgers, they'll lift 2 for their site. They won't be spending their whole morning panning up these hamburger patties. They'll spend 45 minutes and then they'll switch to cutting grapes. Where before they were doing such repetition and that was being heard from them, the physical aspect. So that will be an improvement as well. Less repetition, greater flexibility in menu planning. If we need to change a recipe that benefits the primary versus the high school, they like something different, we can do that easier as well. And less wasted time, no traveling to other sites. You can focus on your site alone. You're not organizing orders for other sites, helping them with their production records. So it'll just be a really good teamwork for each of the sites to kind of be cohesive together. So I'm really looking forward to that. The picture on the left is the intermediate school kitchen. That was from back in May, so it's incomplete here, but you can see it's got 2 doors. So the door that's further away actually is cafeteria facing. They can get the food delivered without even having to walk through the kitchen, which is awesome. And then the other 2 pictures are those new kettles that we're putting in at each of the sites as well. I didn't touch on the primary school is going to be in a transition year. They're not going to have a walk-in freezer yet, but they'll have extra reach-in freezers. So we're hoping they can get by just like the other sites. And then next summer we can add a walk-in freezer and some new equipment under their hood. But the high school will continue to support them if they have any needs that they can't complete with what they currently have. And the second goal is implementing a food recycling program. So in May of 24, we had Sherburne County out to conduct a waste characterization study. We had them come to the primary school. They found 32% of the generated waste was food waste. Majority of that is what's on a student's tray. It's not actually what's being generated from behind the scenes in the kitchen, but what's being dumped out from the student tray. So we have some work to do there, but in the meantime, we added a food recycling program with a $10,000 grant from Sherburne County to help us get started. We added a pig recycling program, food pig buckets. So anyways, we have a pig farmer that drops off buckets where then we put our food waste into, and we train the kids from Camp Opportunity, the little ones, to 2nd grade. We started at the primary school where they come to a station after breakfast and lunch and they sort their trash from their food waste. And they, of course, are excited to feed the pigs. So they don't want to, it's important because they don't want to contaminate, the food bucket. So if someone drops a ranch cup into the pig buckets, they're all hands are raised, like, come over here. So, which is good because we don't want to contaminate what's going to the pigs. So that's been a good implementation there. And we actually reduced the amount of dumpster pickups there. So that was a clear offset or an improvement. In January of this year, we then added it to the intermediate school, and training took about 1/8 of the time. They caught on really quickly, so that went smooth. Hoping the same thing goes smooth at the middle school, because we plan to start there in September as well. The grant money covered all of the food waste fees for the first year. So we're going to see how this year shakes down. I think it'll be about a wash based on the decreased need for the dumpster pickups. So we're going to see how numbers play out. I might be able to get a little bit more grant money, but to be determined a little bit there. And the benefits, the children are doing hands-on recycling daily. It opens conversations about, take what you're going to eat. We don't want to be feeding the pig buckets. That's there as a safety net, but just having those conversations. And then the food waste itself, it stays local. The 3 pig farms are located in Isanti County, I believe. And it's been a positive teamwork initiative between food service, paras, lunchroom supervisors, custodial, and the students themselves. Just that open communication and how are things going. So I think that's been another positive program. And there's a picture. So the one on the left, again, this is the station. That station can house, 4 students can be there at a time. Drop their silverware in the middle. And then I teach them, do all your trash first, and then what's left on your tray should be the food, and then that goes into the green bucket. And then those that pick it up actually cook the food again right on the truck, so it's safe for the pigs to eat, and then feed it to the pigs. And that is all that I have. Thank you.
We do a giant staff bacon party.
Say that again?
We do a giant
Oh, yeah.
staff bacon? No. Next is Director of Transportation, Kim Spoden. And Kim, this is kind of to talk about Kim. I don't know if all of you know who she is, but just started in
Well, over 2 months ago.
2 months ago. So there you go. So we got some newbies coming up now. So it's time to ask some questions.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. So I'm just gonna go over a couple of things. Luckily, I did come from within the department, so I did have some things that I could put out here today. The first one is, we want to provide the district with the safest and most professional transportation as possible, providing more latitude to the district and students. So giving them more opportunities. We want to expand. We don't want any of the kids held back because we can't transport something or somewhere. We want to expand what we can do. So work on more and different types of training for the drivers and paras, encouraging participation in the bus rodeo, to work on improving driving skills and knowledge. This year is the first year for the bus rodeo back in Minnesota. It has been gone for several years, so that is starting back up with an opportunity to win a chance to go to nationals in Texas next June. So we're promoting that for the drivers to hone in their skills and get better. So we also want to work more closely with administration, teachers, coaches, and accommodate as much as we possibly can to grow not only in sports, but in academics and the arts as well. So we want to make sure that we're well-rounded, giving opportunities to not only football, baseball, that kind of stuff, but also one-act play, any of the arts. They have a couple different things throughout the state for them to be able to go and show their art as well. So we don't want to forget anyone. We want to make sure that we're available for them. And part of this will be doing annual evaluations of procedures and protocols related to safety of students, staff, and the community within the Becker School District. Our second goal here is we always strive for 0 failed inspections. This year, we only had 1 fail last year out of 48 vehicles in 2024, which is significantly better than 2023, which had 13 fails out of 49. In 2023, the state switched to new inspection protocols. It wasn't wide known on what those protocols were, so our mechanics and staff were just kind of guessing at what we were supposed to do. There were significant changes. It was no longer a point system. It was a straight up pass or fail. So there was a lot of learning on that. But for Dean and Dave, they're always striving for that 0 to be where we want to be. We want to be the best out there. So we're spraying the underside of the buses with rust proofing. This will help prevent the rusting. We did select a few last year and it worked really well. So we are continuing with that. We're keeping the mechanics off of routes as much as possible to have them in the shop, rotating the fleet in and out of the shop, to have eyes on them more often, and keeping the mechanics up to date on changes in inspection laws through training with the state patrol inspectors and train the trainer. So Dean just went and renewed his DOT inspection certification. He cannot do school buses, only state patrol can, but it does update the laws on regular DOT and how they're working through that. So we have annual evaluations on procedures and protocols related to the safety of the students, staff, and community within Becker. We're updating technology this year. This is a big one. We got a new routing system. So we're adding new routing, new GPS, and new kids scanning is all coming this year. We did roll out the app to parents in January. It was well received. We had several comments from the parents calling in. I love it. It's easier to read than the 3 things that they were going to before. So we're also installing new tablets in the buses in the summer of 2025. These tablets will have all the routing on them, as well as student information and student scan information. Therefore, the drivers have instant access if a kid is allergic to a bee sting. If I have that in there, which I do have the bee sting stuff in there, if I have it in their file, if that kid's going, I can't breathe, I was stung or something, they can just click on that student and have that information right there. Hey, that kid has an EpiPen in his backpack. So, you know, it just helps with the safety aspect of that. Student scans will now be able to be tracked by them scanning or the driver manually putting them on the bus. So before they had to scan them, otherwise we had no way of knowing. Now the driver can manually say that kid is on the bus. That will also help with us enforcing the kids using the scan cards, because they can say, right now with the old system, they could say, well, I didn't ride that day. Now we have, no, the driver put you on that day. So we have 7 days in a row that you haven't scanned. We need you to scan. We do have the trainers coming out the first 3 days of school to help the drivers make sure that they are comfortable with the technology and know how to use it to the best of their abilities. And then again, just providing more staff development and use of technology to enhance the teaching and learning here. The drivers do have a lot to learn. So some of them are really excited about it. I am, and some of them are dreading it. So we'll see. Some of them don't even do email. So we'll see how this goes, but hopefully they'll be happy with it. So
One more. And then one that's not on here is the IROD process that we went through, which the board was, some of the board members have been trained on that IROD process as well. But doing the IROD process for the transportation department, we focused on 3, or we identified, I guess, 3 areas of improvement, and they'll be focusing on that this coming year as well. So safety, communication, and morale were the 3 that came to the top. When
those were the top
went
of our
through that.
list.
So
Yes. So, and we've already implemented some of that. And then Jeremy and I have had a few other meetings with the shift of everything on the new roles of who's taking over and who's doing what part of those processes to better our department. Thank you very much.
right, next up is Steph Lesh from Sherburne Northern Right Special Ed Co-op. So some of you may not know her as well, but Steph's been with us for some time. I don't know how long have you been here, Steph?
10 years.
10 years. And so she'll talk a little bit about the co-op. These don't necessarily fully tie into our, they weren't part of our goals because they're through the co-op, Sherburne Northern Right. But they still are relevant to our students, obviously.
I tried to pick some that I thought were really relevant to the Becker School District and impacted our focus areas for a strategic plan. Just kind of big picture of special education, though. Right now, we have 539 students who are eligible for special education services and receive services in our district. There's 13 qualifying areas. Right now, we have students in 12 of those areas. If you kind of look at the next slide, the pie graph gives a little better picture. So as you can see, speech and language is about, what is it, 30, yeah, it's a huge chunk of our special education population. And a lot of that is at that elementary age. In grades 3 and 5, they'll typically kind of meet those articulation goals. So we'll reduce our special ed numbers a little bit as students get older. Other areas, though, that we have a larger population in is specific learning disability. Specifically, that would be reading, emotional behavioral disorder, other health disability. A lot of students will qualify with that ADHD medical diagnosis, ASD, and then that developmental delay again is those children ages 0 to 7. And then once they reach age 7, they have to qualify in one of the other categories in order to receive services. So I just wanted to make sure you had kind of a big picture of how many students we have and what those areas are of service. When we look at compliance and goals, one area we're always looking at is just reimbursement. How can we get money back? So a big area for that is at MA billing. We service kids with transportation, with medically, Medicare, with one-to-one PCAs, they're called, or paraprofessionals. They have to really be significant though. Like they have to meet some criteria. We have, have to feed them or give them a G tube, or they have to be, major one-to-one handhold to do anything, or hand over hand for writing. So it's got to be a significant piece for us to build back for that MA billing. It's a lot of paperwork too. Our speech and language teachers get the brunt of that. And I think they do a lot of paperwork. So they have to go into SPED forms. They have to do probably 2 hours a week sometimes of just paperwork to do the MA billing. And then a lot of our other DCD teachers and those with more medically complex kiddos will do our MA billing too. So just working on increasing that revenue every year. So we'll give training, we give support, we have staff from the co-op and from Becker come out and give training for that. Improving special education referral and evaluation in our due process systems is really important. So just kind of streamlining everything. In special ed, it seems like there's a lot of redundancy in our paperwork. If you've ever just looked at an IEP, sometimes they're like 30 pages. They're really long. So how much can we just kind of give teachers more drop-down menus and give them sentence starters and all those pieces so that they have less work to do and they can spend more time with kids. So we're working on ways to do that. And then just encouraging that we're documenting well so that we get as much funding back as we can. We have kids going to day treatment. They're going to Clara's Health. They're going to Northway Academy. So how do we make sure that our documentation is correct? So we're improving systems for that as well. Another area is just strengthening staff training and professional development. There's just a lot to learn for special education. And sometimes, 1 year you might be teaching a reading class and then the next year you're teaching a math class. And so how do we ensure that our staff are trained in those high leverage practices? This year we're excited. We have our co-op board, thank you, approved a special ed instructional coach. So that person's going to come in and to those teachers teaching really, new curriculums, or if they're a newer, maybe a tier 1 teacher, how can we give them specific coaching on those higher leverage practices and our best instructional strategies. We're trying to do train the trainer programs, give consistent orientation for new teachers and special educations throughout the year. We're ensuring our program compliance, monitoring, and that we have quality assurances. We just got a letter, I think June 30th, from MDE that our special education team at Becker had no indicator areas, and we were 100% compliant in all of our special ed due process. So that was awesome, and that's a huge kudos to all of our special ed teachers, because you submit all these files and then they have someone that kind of reviews it all, and they, just look at all the errors you could possibly make, and we had 0 errors. So that was great. So it's always good to get that letter. We also have training just with that compliance with restrictive procedures. So if a student is out of control, what nonverbal things can we teach all of our staff so that they're working? And if they would have to ensure that a student is safe by doing a restrictive procedure, we're all trained. So there's documentation, there's training, and we do that every year for our teachers. And then just ensuring that our data and behavior support systems are in place, meaning we have consistent progress monitoring, that everyone is trained consistently so that we have a goal, we have a specific skill, and then how often are we monitoring a student's progress? We have co-op BCBAs that have been coming out. We have 2 of them actually, and they've been really good board certified behavior analysts. So they'll come in, they'll kind of watch the student, ask what we're wanting, and then they'll actually go hands-on in and train, and then they'll come back and follow up and say, hey, how did this go? Did it go well? And if they say no, then they'll kind of watch again and say, okay, here's why. Or they'll say, oh, let's try something else. And so it's just been really nice to get some really trained staff come in and give our staff in Becker progress monitoring and behavior support. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. Next is Kevin. Are you going up to the podium? All right, good.
Sure.
Uh,
I don't go up here much.
Like I said, Kevin and Carla get the special role of being able to do this every year.
And there was information in here, but I don't know, somehow it got zapped out. But anyway.
Somehow it's Jeremy. Jeff did on that.
So it's really the goal 6. It's the, maintaining the fiscal responsibility and allocating the resources strategically and effectively. There's 3 strategic plan objectives. One is annually we evaluate and allocate those resources. And really, the district has maintained the spending at the budgeting levels that you all approve during the year. And we haven't gone over those, so we've been sticking to those budgets. Under the second objective, the annually manage and monitoring ongoing facility needs and use of space. As Felicia had mentioned, one of the big things is the decentralizing of those kitchens. It's actually a 2-year process. I don't know if she did mention, it's all within the budget. The state actually allowed us to have more than a 3-month fund balance in food service through this year. So what we're spending will bring it down by next June 30th. A couple of the other projects that we're doing, the referendum projects are all done except for the high school roofing here. That will be done this summer and it'll get completed next summer. The primary roofing, it was from insurance from our hail damage. That'll be completed at the end of this summer. Then the third item that I wanted to mention, meet fiscal management goals is defined in the board policy. As you all know, we have that 8% fund balance policy and we're currently above that. So we are meeting that also. That's it. Short, sweet.
Thanks, Kevin. And
All the time.
our final presenter is Jen Johnson, our Director of Community Ed and Related Services. And Jen's started in February, right?
January 27th.
January 27th. All right.
Yeah, just over 5 months. So thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited to be in the world of community ed. All right, here we go. So this was the goal for this year. By the 25-26 school year, we'll create a plan to utilize and document increased community partnerships to provide greater opportunities for students. And we are working on that, not only for students, but also for community members. So that's really exciting. Mine's gonna be a little bit different than the previous folks that came up because I am new to this and just wanted to share kind of a 5-month recap. So initially, right away when I got here, I knew we needed to do some updates to our website and our system called class registration. And that's gone really well. I received a lot of positive feedback from community members and families trying to register their kids for things. So those updates have gone well, and we're continuing to tweak things as needed with that. One change that we made is creating an online form and online signups to reduce phone call volume in high demand classes. We have several programs that are high demand, and it was a phone call system where call in at 12 o'clock to try to get in for this. And it just doesn't work when there's only a couple of us and lots of people wanting this. An example was swimming lessons for that. So we created an online form, and we were able to see down to the second of time people registered for that and call them back in order that they had filled out the form to be able to get their swimming lesson opportunity. So it was more efficient for staff time and help families to get in. They wouldn't have to sit there and call and hope that they were the next one to get picked up from the phone call. So that's been great. We're also looking at some of our other high demand classes about how we can do that to make it equitable for people to get opportunities to participate in those classes. This summer we did, for this summer, this spring, we distributed our summer catalog for our classes in the Patriot newspaper and then district-wide to all families for summer community ed. We hadn't done a printed catalog like that in, I was told from our staff in community ed, over 5 years. So got several emails from families saying, thank you for going back to a paper version. It's not a big, thick catalog that you may have seen from several years ago. It was a one-page flyer that had all of the classes listed on both sides. People liked that format to be able to see the classes organized by date, to be able to register for what they wanted. So that had classes, those are currently going on. Summer is really, really, really busy for community ed. So we've had a ton of classes going on. It's been going well from our preschool classes, little 3.5-year-olds in our early education building, doing ooey gooey science and all down on the farm, fun classes like that, up to trips for seniors. And we'll have different seniors from the community coming in and wanting to sign up for some of the trips that we're doing. So that has gone well. Back to our goal area, we've increased collaboration with Big Lake and Monticello community ed programs to be able to offer some classes that we all used to try to offer individually, but we had to meet certain minimums for the companies we were partnering with to offer those classes, and none of us were able to meet those. So by partnering all together, if we have 5 and Monticello has 6 and Big Lake has 3, we're able to run the class. So all the kids get the opportunity, and then we just take turns about who hosts those classes. So that's been nice to be able to bring in some of those classes that in past years we've had to drop because we just haven't had enough registered. So that's been great. That's also a partnership that we do for trips for seniors. We've done a trip to, or we're going to be doing a trip to a winery that's going to be coming up, a Stillwater Riverboat cruise, Target Field and Murray Steakhouse. So some fun opportunities. When I came in right away, I think within my first week, I had calls from people saying, we used to do trips. Can we do that sort of thing again? And we've been able to bring that back on a monthly basis. So that's been really exciting. We've adjusted the registration processes to reduce credit card fees. I was amazed at the amount of money that we had to pay in credit card fees when I was hired and was looking at our budgets and what we had to pay for those fees. So we've kind of changed some of our policies and things on that to be able to save money on fees, giving people credits on their account. They're going to be taking classes again with community ed, and it saves us on paying the credit card fee on the front end and the back end. So that's been a beautiful thing to be able to save some money on those credit card fees. We've held 2 community education advisory council meetings. So thanks to Councilmember Hubbard, he serves on that committee. So we met in March and in May, and that's going well, getting a couple new members and people that are interested and motivated and giving feedback and advice about how we can improve things within community ed for Becker. So that's been great. And we've increased visibility and improved communication within community ed. So getting lots of feedback from families about reminders that they get about classes and messages that they know what classes are coming up and what they can register for, and some data to demonstrate that. In March and April, our revenues for that have exceeded our previous years. And June 2025, we set a new record in collected registration fees for programs. I went back at least 10 years in data, and we had never had so many people or registrations in our June programming, which also meant higher collection of revenue. So we give that, obviously, some of that back to the instructors who are teaching the class, but that also covers our admin fees and things like that to be able to run the classes. So that was great. Also, with improved communication, we decreased the funds owed in our early education program. So there's a tuition that they have to pay for that. From April until the end of June, I made lots of phone calls and connected with families and decreased the amount owed by almost 80%, 79%, which was about $67,000 that we collected back, and brought that number down significantly, the number of families that need to pay. And with those that still have to pay, we're coming up with a payment plan so they can get that taken care of. But that's helpful. Obviously, we need to pay our early education teachers and things like that. So to be able to collect that $67,000 in revenue was great. Plans for our next academic year, we're going to grow and strengthen the Community Education Advisory Council, continuing to get new members and feedback from the community. We're going to develop a community needs assessment. From what I can find, our last one was done about 2012. So we need to do that again to see what our community needs and wants and how we can continue to serve them well from our community ed program. So we'll collect that data and implement modifications after we assess that data. We're going to continue to increase our partnerships with area community ed programs and the Becker Community Center. They just hired a new assistant director working there. So her and I are meeting and creating plans about how we can partner and work really well together to serve Becker and the community. Like I said, I've only been here a little over 5 months, so I found it was really important in this first year to learn, listen, and observe from people around me, identify those strengths and areas for improvement, and then act upon them. So we've been making small changes that have had a big impact, and I'm excited to continue to do that and continue our visibility and prioritizing communication and engagement, going to all the classes, meeting with the instructors, seeing families, answering questions. I think visibility builds trust, and people can ask questions and know that they're going to be served and have a great experience through our community ed programs. So thank you.
Good. And a perfect transition to what I was going to say as well is the amount of feedback and things that we've been able to obtain through all these departments from, you talk about the IROD for transportation, we've got food service getting feedback from employees and getting some equipment from that. 80% that Mr. Kraft talked about and much more as well. Just trying to, like I said, you guys have been through the IROD process as well, and we've used that quite a bit on things. And so it automatically provides that feedback from within, and it makes it smarter than every single one of us in here, because we got so many minds and ideas thinking about it. And then speaking of smart, just how wise and knowledgeable our team is. As you watch them present, even, I don't know if you paid attention to this, but hardly ever were they looking at notes or reading from a script or anything like that. It's because they have so much vast knowledge of what they're in charge of, and then they can rely on the knowledge as well of their teammate members and those that they supervise as well. And it's a credit to them that we do so well, is because like that's half the experience we have in our cabinet, or just under half actually. But it's incredible how much they know, and even the new people, Kim and Jen, and they've been in different systems and organizations as well, so they bring a lot of knowledge as well. But they catch on so quickly, and that's obviously beneficial for us and the veterans like Kevin. And we have another one, back here.
Back behind the scenes.
We almost we almost threw him on the camera. They were supposed to present this year. I think technology has not presented yet, because they've left every time. But we'll get Shane here next year and presenting. So yeah, and then it just brings us to the final slide of any questions or anything related to that you want to ask any of the individuals or anything like that.
Personally, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work. I think I probably speak for everybody. It's very cool because you can see how dedicated and how excited you are about the things you're working on. That really comes out in your speaking, in your presentation. So thank you very much for that.
I'll go one question. High school principal. Your unified PE class. First time, that's your first class, correct? In unified?
Yep.
Opportunities to grow.
So we have had conversations on growing it. It takes the staffing
Yep.
to run it as well. So we have to look at areas where we may have the staffing to offer it. There's definitely a good experience for the students, all staff members. But we looked at some music things, some art things. So nothing for this next year, but preliminary times.
It's a great program. I'm glad it's back.
Could you go into just a little bit more detail about what the program actually is?
Yeah. Steph can add as well. So Unified by Ed. So we now have, for 2 straight years, we have one teacher who's just teaching adaptive, or is this the first year?
section where you've had one teacher doing a 1.0 for day developmental and adaptive ed.
So that's Alyssa Stevens, and Alyssa Stevens had seen some other programs utilizing Unified Ed. So it's our GCD students who have always received, physical education time according to their IEP, and then offering it as an elective for general ed students. And she had a fantastic partnership where the general ed student, it'd be 1-to-1. It was almost perfect each trimester. General ed student with a special ed student, and work together on the activities. She would educate the general ed students on what the disabilities are, like Steph highlighted the different disability areas, so they become informed on the individual, but also informed on the background behind what that disability is, what the student may need, how to best support them. They would do some reflection on how you might apply this in a different setting, outside of that ed course. So we did allow it where a general ed student could take it each trimester. Some just took it one trimester, and it did fill one of our 5 requirements.
And it's like a win-win.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome for the special ed students that are in it. It's awesome for the general ed students that are participating as well. It's a good deal.
So while we have you here, outdoor education,
Outdoor rec, yeah.
outdoor rec, yeah,
Yeah,
what's that?
so Matt Aho, it was really, he offered it as outdoor recreation, and it was the 3rd trimester class. And it was, he had found a canoe in a back FIAD storage area that I think it was last approved for water safety in 1996 in the Brad Novak era. But they used that for some training in the pool to get students comfortable in a canoe. They did take a trip to an area park to do some, it was really weather dependent, so he didn't know if he was going to be doing ice fishing. He didn't know if he was going to be setting tents. He didn't know if he was going to be building fires. So he was really reactive to the weather. And they did some biking, at the city park. So he had a plan, but he had to adjust significantly. So that was a good ad.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. Any other questions? So, well, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight and presenting. It's truly amazing to see all the work behind the scenes, and because of all the support you guys do for the schools, it helps the rest of us be successful in what we do. So thank you for all that you do in each of your situations. Anybody else have comments? All right. Thank you. If you guys want to leave, we won't feel bad.
Thank you all. Oh,
No, you can't.
No, sorry.
Brings on item number 2, reports. We'll start with superintendent report.
and so planning this fall is taking place. Executive committee has met. We've created staff development plan. We've got a number of topics, more letters training with the READ Act, curriculum, ALICE training, which we have to do every single year, a refresher for that. More on data than we probably have done in the past, and we've got a number of other topics that are building specific as well. So we have those in there. We also have included some opportunities for hourly staff. We've added, you don't have to zoom in on me. We've added, I forgot my train of thought. Oh, the special ed training that Steph was talking about, we did the August 21st is one that we're gonna do with the co-op all together, and then the superintendents will be a part of that as well, and we'll have other staff there as well, but you're just really looking forward to this, and we'll shore up that schedule as we move forward and get closer to the date. But the other one, I guess I forgot to mention in there, the first date, I guess it is in there, but is our safety videos and things. We've have 6 hours or 7 hours of safety videos that we have to watch each year. We've kind of condensed those down, so because a lot of people have seen those myself, I've seen them for over 20 years, bloodborne pathogens and things like that. So we try to condense those down, and then we're going to try to create a longer one for the first time through when you're a new employee. But the review of it, we don't need to watch 6 or 7 hours of those videos to to know that we have to put on plastic gloves for spills and things like that. I sent an invite out to the board, but we're looking to have a joint meeting with the mayor and Becker City Council members and possibly others as well. The meeting's scheduled to take place on July 29th. Just an opportunity to look for areas of efficiencies and working together to support our communities. I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of see where we've got redundancies and things like that, and where we can help each other out in a lot of different ways. And so thanks to Mayor Colbinger for bringing that forward, and hopefully we can get as many people from here as we can to attend. I think we'll also have some of our cabinet members that just presented as well attending, because a lot of times they're working with the city as they spoke of as well. Special ed staff, I think Steph talked about this as well, but I do have that letter that she was talking about where we had a positive report for our IDC record review and our compliance report. So that's gone well, and they've done a really nice job of that. That's not something, it seems like every time my experience with this is the files that they pull are the ones that have the mistakes on them, and then the other ones that seem to be always correct. But we've been able to get through that this year with no issues and a positive review. And then the final one, resolutions for legislation are due mid-September for the MSBA Delegate Assembly. So we have to approve those through the board by mid-September. But if you have any topics, thoughts, ideas, or resolutions, I'll probably submit similar ones as we did last year. We can submit as many as we want. And hopefully we can just continue to press and get some things that will benefit Becker and our school district as well, and other schools.
Any questions for Jeremy? All right, thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to item 2B, committee reports. Connie, I believe you have a finance.
So on June 25th, we had a finance committee meeting, and it was about the board salaries and how to maybe move forward with that. And Kevin did pull several school districts, or a couple school districts, and we are pretty low on our pay. We haven't touched it. Not in my
tenure, no.
So we did come up with a plan, which is in the consent agenda, and it will be an annual based pay instead of doing per meeting type thing. So we won't have to turn in timesheets. It'll just be a monthly, monthly pay for each one of us, and it gives us a little bit of a bump in pay. But we're still on the low end, just so you know, we're still kind of on the low end. So, but it kind of gives us a little bit of an increase. So, and it's in consent agenda. So I don't know, Kevin, did I miss anything?
No.
And then we also discussed the operational levy that's on the agenda too, which will be discussed further later in the meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Connie? Ryan or Pete, you want to give a 284 update? Transportation, 284.
I can. We met just last week and we have another meeting scheduled this week. We have, excuse me, we have come to some agreements on some language stuff. The financials are still very far apart. We've been as open, as honest as we can with them. As we have with all the different groups when we meet with them, how much money we have. But they did make some movement. I feel like we have a much more positive working environment than we did the last negotiations. So hopeful and looking forward to getting to agreement much easier and quicker than the last time.
Any questions on that? Do you want to give a BEA update?
Meeting tomorrow.
Meeting tomorrow. Is that your second?
Technically, we are second. First time was just kind of some ground rules. So then, tomorrow will be the first time.
All right. Any other committee reports? All right. Moves us to item number 3.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item number, where am I here? 4. Oh boy, it's long. Resolutions for accepting donations.
make a motion to accept.
Second.
Any questions or discussions on resolution accepting donations? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item number 5, resolution for combined polling place. Jeremy, you want to explain that one real quick?
Sure, we do this every year, but our previous or current, I guess, combined polling place is the city hall. When we contacted City Hall about our election for school board, they said they would like us to move it to the community center. And so this is just to change our combined polling place to the community center, and their thought was just it runs better. And it's, they just like essentially said City Hall wasn't really available anymore as a polling place from their perspective. So this moves it to the community center, which when I voted last time, it's a bigger area. So it's when you vote in the gym. So much nicer, and the bigger parking lot too. It was pouring rain last time we voted, if you remember. When I voted anyway at that time. Yeah, so this moves it to there. We will have to report this to the county. They also have to report that that's their place to the county, which I don't know if they've done that before, even when we had voted, but should be pretty good.
Motion to accept the combined polling place resolution.
I'll second.
Ryan?
Right?
All right.
This
any
should
further-
be a roll call vote too. All these ones.
Oh, these all on down need to be a roll call?
Yeah.
All right. So any questions or discussions on number 5, combined polling place? I do find it ironic that we put a $6 million addition on the city hall that we can't use to poll anymore.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, and I agree the parking's a big deal, but that kind of shocks me. All right, this will be a roll call, so I'll just come down the line. I'll say your name, you just tell me how you vote. Ryan, Pete,
Aye.
aye, Connie, Corey,
Aye.
motion carries. Brings us to item number 6, resolution of calling special election for operating levy. Want to talk about this one, Jeremy?
I'm gonna
Kevin?
hand it off to Kevin. Kane, if you want to throw me back on the screen.
It's really the second item under their the presentation.
No, not me, but
Screen?
the screen sharing from my iPad. Oh, okay. I think it's at 7, 8, 9 or whatever. There you go.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's not up on this one, but, so this is really just exploring the, possibility of an operating referendum, to be held this fall in November. Some of the informations, you know, why are we contemplating asking for new revenue from the taxpayers now? Some of the things that the state is doing, one of the big ones is a compensatory. So they originally, it was gonna go away. They did reinstate it for a year. So for 25, 26, it will be there at the same level it was, but then in 26, 27, it is going away, of $150,000 that we have to try to come up with somewhere. So, you know, that's one of the items. Another thing is the unemployment insurance. They originally thought they had enough money to go through fiscal year 26, 27. They, with the original funding that they did back in 23. But they found out that was only gonna last about halfway through this summer. So they did put in another 100 million in to get it until the 26, 27 school year. They put another 100 million in there, so it should be enough for this year, next year, and year after. But then after that, they don't know where it'll come from. It's either local levies, operating referendums, where that change will come from. Another item. Another new one that is coming up January 1st is the Paid Family and Medical Leave Act. you know, there's the amount that gets paid into the state to pay the individual that's gonna take the Minnesota leave or the leave. But then there's also other costs that are associated with that, you know, sub costs, not being able to find subs. So there's other costs that are also involved with that, so. Might be some cuts, but this is also part of that, why we might need some of this. Some other items, we don't know what's gonna happen with the READ Act. You know, they've given us enough, and the MOU that we have currently goes through next summer. But that is only, I believe, to pay for through the elementary. So they don't,
Mostly, yeah.
and they haven't done the 6th through 12th grade it is, I think.
Yeah, except.
They haven't come
yeah.
out even with the regulations yet on that, so. And they haven't come out and said, oh, we're gonna give you money for that either, so we don't know what's gonna happen with that. They did do some reductions to the special ed transportation revenue, that's already part of it. They've also said that there will be some reduction in the amount that the state is paying for the food, for the meals, free meals. They also reduced the student support personnel aid, and they reduced that by about 20 or 30,000. So because of those things that, as it stands right now, they are gonna go away, the revenue sources for those. So that's the reason we're looking at this. Obviously, the rules that you would see, the board would have to approve if it is their desire to go out on an operating levy referendum by August 12th, we would have to approve a resolution, to be held in November of 2025. You'll see some of the other dates. You know, there's a notice to the commissioners, August 22nd, absentee starts September 19th, and then obviously the election day would be November 4th. Just dates that are out there. Now we picked two different amounts, as you'll see in here, $125 option and $175 option. The first part of this is just their disclaimer. The ballot questions that are here, they don't want to say, oh, this is exactly how it would look, because we don't know yet how much we'd want to do. So they're just putting their disclaimer out there. And as you can see, what an election question may look like. Yeah, there you go, Gary. And again, this would be the one for $125. It just says, you know, what it's for. It's an excess operating referendum, and it's authorization to add $125 per pupil. And obviously this would be by voting yes on a ballot question, it is voting for a property tax increase. And a couple more slides, I'll show you what that how much it would be. So with the $125 per student, it would bring in approximately $422,000 additional dollars to the revenue. I didn't mention some I did for the compensatory, that's $120,000. Our unemployment amount that we pay out for the summer unemployment is like $230,000. And then the other Minnesota paid family leave, that's around $110,000. So roughly more than this, but that's why we kind of picked two amounts in there. The tax impact for the next slide. You can see, so for a homestead residential property at 200, 400, and 600,000, so that would be the value of the home. For a middle 400,000, it would be $76 a year. For a $600,000 home, would be $115. And then you can see the different property type classifications. You got your commercial, You've got your apartments, the seasonal doesn't get charged on this. Any of the ag, dwelling value, so they take the home in 1 acre, that's what the ag part is. So then you'll see those amounts to how much they are. And it does, and it calculates out a monthly amount too, but the middle column is the yearly amount. Then the second amount that we looked at was $175 per pupil unit. Same thing, the ballot question is the exact same as the 125, except it states 175. And then the amount of revenue that would bring in is $569,825. And the tax impact on that, so for a homestead, a residential homestead, for 400,000, it's $102. For a property valued at 600,000, it's 153. And, you know, you could say, okay, if you wanted a $500,000 value, it'd be in between that 102 and 153, so it'd be like 127 about. And then the same thing it shows for the different property type classifications. And that, questions? I get.
So if all that funding goes away, will $569,000 replace that?
Yes,
Okay. Will the 422 replace it?
and not quite.
Okay.
30 grand short.
Yeah. And short. And there has, you know, or I've heard from some board members that they do want to try to increase the fund balance also. Cause we are just right at 8% or slightly above, but yeah, 8.2 or whatever it is. But, and as you've seen some of the comparisons, you know, when the auditors were here last year, you did see when they showed the state average, we are below the state average. I mean, the state average, if I remember right, was right around 23%. And we were right at, you know, I think we were a little bit higher last year because of the way the settlements came.
We're not below the state average, we're the bottom of the state.
Well, yeah, we're lower. I mean, but anyway, you guys did see that, you know, our fund balance was lagging behind the state. So some of that additional could go into there, try to build it so much per year.
And it's my understanding too, that this is a common thing throughout the whole state right now, because the state had a bunch of money, so they started a whole bunch of programs that they didn't have enough money to pay for, and now they're sticking on us. So it's not that, these aren't choices that us as a school board or community have decided to make, the state made them for us, now we have to pay.
They're kind of doing it to us.
Was it Channel 9 that just had a
11.
Channel
Yeah,
11 that just had
11.
an article on this? They're gonna see more school levies now than ever before.
So quick question too, on the existing levy that we
That we
approved,
currently
you're
have.
saying, like, this is obviously being allocated to those funds that we're losing, correct? That's the idea behind.
That's
this.
what the idea behind it would be.
And then the first one, we're still using, are we using it
As
for?
everything that we spend on to balance the budget. I mean, that along with, you know, all the other revenues that we get. It's the general from the state, the tax levy, any grants, you know, any of those things. So all of those together pays what we have right now. Including these things they are paying for, but if those go away, then our revenue's going down too, or we have to cut. You know, for those reductions that the state's not gonna continue to pay for.
And that, I guess, would be the question too, like, how do you sell it, right, to the public, is, we don't know for sure if they're gonna cut. They fund them at half, or they're gonna still fully fund them, We're not gonna
That-
fund it all.
That's the tough part. But in law so far, I mean, there are the things that are in law, the compensatory is a drop. They also did one of the laws for special ed. They put a committee together. They're gonna try to save some money
Yeah, the Blue Ribbon Committee, I think.
towards, special ed costs, but we'll see where that goes. But we do know the compensatory's gone away. We do know that the unemployment is going to go away. I mean, as it is in law right now. And we know Minnesota paid family leave is already coming.
I think that's the scariest one, I think.
Yeah. And we don't know, well, all they did was put a cap on that. They said it could only go to 1.1% as of now in law. So let's say the usage goes more than the 1.1%. Will the state throw that on to, you know, the schools?
It is a government program.
We don't know. I mean, they can do that too. Or they may increase the amount, you know, you never know. They don't know yet either, I don't think, because they're waiting to see what's gonna happen or what's the usage or, you know.
And that puts the schools in this tough position if they don't do those things and they don't know, and we don't do this. You're cutting $400,000 next year.
Well, and the unfortunate thing is like levies are always a year behind.
Yeah, yeah, we wouldn't even get the revenue until 26, 27.
Right.
I just also want to go on the record to say that I went and testified on almost everything that Kevin.
Yeah.
talked
You and
about.
Jenny both.
And Jenny, yeah, yeah, I mean, not that we're not in favor of people taking paid family leave, but we just need to know where the money's coming from, and that's a problem, and unemployment, same thing.
And the ESST. You testified on that too.
We discuss as it's closer to that August date then or so, the amount that you'd like to go for.
Yeah, you could, I mean, you just, well, and if we decide to go forward, we do have to approve
Question,
the question,
but we don't have to approve that until August,
so, yeah. I think
Right,
we need
August
to do
4th.
August 4th.
the amount, yeah,
We don't have to approve until August.
Yeah.
We just have to approve, okay.
August 4th, is that our next meeting?
Yes.
And at that time, it would be the amount and the actual resolution saying we're gonna hold operating.
Is there any reason that we would consider asking for more? So we don't have to do another?
You know, one of the discussions, you know, if you did wanna do some growth like in the fund balance. Then you probably, and I don't, let's say it's $100,000 a year that you'd wanna do. For 10 years, well, that only really gives you $1 million more than what we got right now. That would put our fund balance after 10 years, if this is a 10-year, and I think it would be a 10-year levy. So then that would give us about a $4 million fund balance, 4.2-ish for that additional $1 million. That would get, so the 3.2 is roughly 8%. Can't do the math in my head, but whatever that would be, it would probably only put it up to about, well, if 3 divided into 6, so then you're talking, it would probably only still be about 12%. Is really all it would be. So it wouldn't even, you know, still won't even get up to where the state average is. It would grow it, so. But, you know, so that may be a reason. I'll vote for
Yep.
too.
Well, and you know, I'd rather school be doing this, that state average
Right.
and continue to move,
And
we're not gonna catch it.
an 8% fund balance is really only about a month's operating expenses. So it's important to understand that that's why that 8% is important to not go
Well,
below.
and I mean, here's a perfect example of why a district does need a fund balance. So, you know, you heard me discussed earlier about the hail damage that we had in the primary schools, the last of the projects or the fixes that had to be done from that. So the insurance company is waiting until we get completely paid or completely finished with that project to turn in everything else. So the insurance company only gives you so much upfront until you replace it, then they'll give you that depreciable value. Well, we still have $800,000 that I have to claim back once that finishes. But we've been carrying the insurance company, for a year here of $800,000 that they still owe us until that project. So I mean, and if we didn't have a fund balance, we wouldn't be able to do that.
We have to borrow.
We'd have to
Well, it
borrow.
wasn't that long ago, what, 10 years ago, districts were borrowing money at 3%, 4%.
And I mean, we were even fairly close to that when we first got here.
Yeah.
Down here, about 300,000.
I think it's a good idea, just from the fact that what state continues to give the 3%, the 2%, I mean, our inflationary costs are just more than that. Operating and running a big business, I guess, is just more than that.
Any other questions or discussions? All right, same as last question, roll call vote. Go down the line.
I don't
Right.
know if you have a motion yet. See?
Oh, no, don't have a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution calling for a special election for an operating levy.
I would second it.
All right, Ryan,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
aye, Connie,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
motion carries. So the next month we'll discuss questions and amounts.
Yeah.
And I guess, Kevin, I have two questions for you. Number one would be, what is the average value home in our district? I don't know if Secretary of State or county has that, I mean.
Yeah, the last time we had the election, it was like 260,000.
Yeah, it's probably twice that. now.
It's probably at least closer between that 400 and 600.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's what I was gonna
And-
say. The numbers we're looking at are not that 200, they're more at the $600,000
Yes.
house.
and we'll put together like we did last time, on whatever amount we decide, that people will be able to actually go onto our website
Calculator.
and, put your value in and it'll calculate what the tax is. It's a tax calculator.
I think you put your address in there, right? I think you could do that last time. if
Yeah, I
remember
think
right.
you could, and then it
Or your parcel number.
automatically- And then it automatically pulls up.
I think, if I remember right.
All right, brings us to item number 7, resolution of calling special election for school board vacancy. As you all know, Troy has left the state, so we have an opening, and because it's longer than the few months, we have to actually have an election for it. So entertain a motion for number 7.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution for calling a special election for school board vacancy.
I'll second it.
Do we have any questions or discussions on that one?
I want to say that the filing period is July 29th to August 12th for that as well. So if you know of anyone that wants to.
Is there a $2 fee?
$2, yep, fee.
Exact change.
Cash.
Exact.
Yeah, July 29th to August 12th.
Are we gonna advertise for that then, or how do we make sure we get the word out?
I think we need to,
Yeah, we can throw some out.
Is the newspaper guy still around?
Oh, I don't know.
here tonight.
He was at the chamber meetings and then when we stopped here, I don't know if he's still here or not. But yeah, we can,
Just so that.
Right. Definitely.
but if anyone knows anyone, yeah,
It's kind of a non-election year, so.
Right.
it'd be pretty quiet.
Yeah.
But they can come into the district office to do that in between those
Okay.
dates.
And it's only a 3-year term, right? Because this is 1 year, first year.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to try it out, it's a good 3-year term to try it out. All right, roll call vote. Ryan,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
aye, Connie,
Aye.
Gord,
Aye.
motion carries. Brings us to item number 7, the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. Is that what you just talked
That's
about,
what I did,
isn't it?
yeah. I was one ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, Ryan,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
aye, Connie, Cory,
Aye.
motion carries. That's the end of our agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Well, I think there's the duplicates that they have the